Top 7 Strongest Warriors History Has Ever Witnessed. Richard I. Richard I was given the nickname Lionheart for his exceptional fighting ability and courage. The Duke of Normandy and the Count of Anjou ascended to the throne of England in 1198, after defeating his father Henry II with the help of his powerful mother Eleanor of Aquitaine. Richard took the cross in 1188 when he heard of Saladin's successful conquest of Jerusalem. He spent his final 5 years reclaiming his throne from his brother John and fighting against Philip's advances into Normandy. Alexander the Great. Arguably one of the greatest generals of antiquity, Alexander's conquests extended the Macedonian kingdom from Greece to India, almost the entire known world at the time. Born in 356 BC, his early years were spent under the tutelage of Aristotle. His early military career was spent releasing Greece from the grasp of the Persians. Throughout his reign, the casualties of his troops compared to those of his enemies were considerably less, mostly due to his quick tactical thinking and his love for the men who fought under him. Leonidas I. Best known for his heroic last stand at the Battle of Thermopylae, Leonidas' early years have barely been documented. Although legend says that he was the descendant of Heracles. His reign began somewhere around 490 BC and he shared control with Leotychides, as was the Spartan custom of the time. Leonidas learned of the betrayal and sent away most of his men, keeping only the 300 Spartans that made up his personal guard. Leonidas' 300 valiantly fought off the advancing Persians down to their last man. Leonidas was eliminated and his body was beheaded and crucified, which only served to anger his fellow Spartans, who expelled the Persians from Greece a few months later at the Battle of Plataea. Gaius Julius Caesar. The greatest general in Rome's history, Caesar came to power first as a quaestor and praetor before being elected as consul and proconsul in 59 BC and organizing the first triumvirate with Pompey and Crassus. He distinguished himself by leading campaigns in Gaul, Britain, and Germany, but his growing power scared the Senate and he was asked to disband his forces. In 44 BC he became autocrat for life, a title that was short-lived because, on the Ides of March 15, 44 BC, he was stabbed by a group of his friends and protégés. Bizarrely, the Roman Senate disagreed with his way of ruling, causing one of the most famous betrayals in history, Julius Caesar's execution. Miyamoto Musashi. The greatest sword fighter of his time, Miyamoto Musashi, is one of the best-known samurai in Japanese history. Born in 1584 in Harima Province, Musashi was raised by his uncle in Shorya Temple. By the time he was 13, he had already won his first duel against Harima Kige, a student of military arts. Later in his life, he became a master painter and writer. His most famous written work is the Book of Five Rings, which covers the sum of his experience as a sword fighter, including strategy, tactics, and philosophy. Hannibal Barca. Hannibal Barca is next on our list of the greatest warriors in history. Barca was born in North Africa around 247 BCE. Dubbed the father of strategy by military historian Theodore Herodotus, he grew up with a fierce hatred of the Romans. He was one of the greatest warriors of the Carthaginian forces who fought bravely against Rome during the Second Punic Battle. Hannibal was a master strategist who developed outflanking tactics. He set out in the spring of 218 BC and fought his way through the Pyrenees and the Alps with a force of 46,000 soldiers and 37 war elephants. Sun Tzu. The strongest warrior is the one who has both intellectual and physical powers. Sun Tzu was the author of the first and most sophisticated book on military theory written ever. Sun Tzu served under the Wu state as both general and military tactician around 770 and 476 BC. His experience in both fields gave way for him to write the famous book during the Warring States period in China, which was a time filled with power struggles between 7 states. Sun Tzu's most notable achievement was the Battle of Boju between the Wu state and Chu state, in which an overwhelming defeat for the Chu state cost their capital city. Additionally, Sima Qian, the author of Records of the Grand Historian, explained that Sun Tzu had never lost a battle in his 40 years as a general, making him an undefeated force of both brains and brawn.